Hello and welcome to the Joy Curator podcast, formerly celebrating simple life. And there has been a lot going on in these past 7 months since the last episode was released in January of this year. I have just had an immense amount of personal business change going on. And I actually could not be more delighted to be launching season 6. And we are going to dive in to the joy of getting organized for September. I couldn't think of a more fitting topic. You know me. Anyone that's been around here for any amount of time knows how much I love organization. I received a clipboard and adding machine calculator as a Christmas present when I was in elementary school because I wanted to be able to create my own office and business and things just by myself with my imaginary friends. So this has been a long journey to get here where I am today. Since we released episodes last, I turned 40. I've evolved my business and have had so many things happen in between that I just cannot wait to share with you. This coming season of the Joy Curator podcast is chocked full of goodness. I cannot wait for you to meet the guests that are going to be on the show. Now, I'm working on a new studio here, figuring it out. So if you are wanting to tune in on YouTube, or if you are listening on whatever podcast platform you choose to listen, there's more ways to enjoy the Joy Curator podcast now. So today, I want to dive into the joy of getting organized. With September being what to me always feels like a very new season, a time of new beginnings, feels like a fresh start. The kids are back at school. I was sharing on my Instagram stories last week when I dropped Lucia off to school for her first day of grade 6. And Cassidy's now in high school. It just feels like a new season. And I feel like it was a first day for me as well. We had the best summer, had so many fun things go on, and that will continue throughout September as the weather stays nice and we won't look too far ahead to winter. That I wanted to just really lean into how my season gets to change now, also with having my full days back on my own, being able to work a schedule that I wish to work, live my life the way I wish to live my life. And I want that for you too. And the best part is it's totally possible. I have learned, I think it's been a long journey, but have learned a lot in this past season, how we always have a choice. We have a choice how we spend our time. We have a choice how we show up. We have a choice with what attitude we show up. And we have a choice to participate or not in anything that crosses our path. And I think the more we can remind ourselves of that, the more we can recognize how we can experience more joy day-to-day life. And I'm not just talking joy when you're looking forward to the next vacation, or joy when everything's going wonderful in your family, or joy when everything's going beautiful in your business. I'm talking joy every single day. Now, Joy is my middle name, so that is where this has all come from. I made the decision at the beginning of this year that I was going to spend time rebranding and really focusing my life's work and in my business to joy, mainly because it's the things that I'm learning along the way also. And I want this for you as well. I have gotten so many messages from you on Instagram DMs and emails that have come into my inbox that are asking the most important questions. But how do I experience more joy in my life? But what about when my children are driving me crazy? What about when my partner isn't showing up in the ways that I feel I need them to? What about when my parents are just not understanding the conversations that I wish to have with them? What about when my business clients are being too demanding and I don't know how to say no? All of these things are just giving us many opportunities to show up in ways that align with ourselves. Now, joy is not a new concept. Joy is spoken about by everyone and anyone all over the world. And I realize that this is not a new topic, but I want to give you my take on joy. And I hope that throughout this episode, you are going to be able to glean practical tips and ways that you today can start experiencing more joy in your life. Not next week, not when everything gets better, not when this happens, not when that happens, but right here in this moment. So, are you ready? If you are driving, you can listen back to this and take notes later. If you are sitting somewhere and just listening and having a cup of coffee, which reminds me, I'm going to reach for my coffee here right now that I didn't keep beside me. I am going to California today with my Been There? Where are you going? Been There series. You are here, they used to call it Starbucks. These mugs make me happy every day. So if you are sitting having a coffee and you have your journal out and you want to take some notes, please do. I want these episodes to always feel like we are just hanging out, having a conversation, having a coffee, sometimes a cocktail, and really diving in to taking practical ways to apply this to your life, not just talking about it and then letting it go, but actually really being able to apply it. So I have gone through a lot of hardship. There have been things that have happened in my life. There have been things that I've processed and gone through like anybody. Every one of us has a story. Every one of us has lived whatever years of life we've lived and have all kinds of bruises, scars, joyful moments, and things to share about our version of how we have gone through this life. And for me, I never really experienced a lot of things that I felt really hard until I was into adulthood. However, I had always really supportive people around me in my life. And I think that made a huge difference with how I was able to show up. But when I moved across the world on my very first airplane ride out to Taiwan, I didn't come home the same person that I left. I had the travel bug planted in me. I had the curiosity and experiencing the world bug planted in me. I had the understanding people and cultures and where we've come from and how our experiences are so similar, yet so different in so many ways. And I was never the same. And I came back and just knew that my part of my purpose in life needed to be to tell stories, to create joy, and to help make people happy. And throughout my event planning career, that was what I did. Throughout my business consulting career, now that is what I'm doing. And I like to be able to sprinkle joy even when things are hard. Now, 10 years ago, when my daughter Cassidy was diagnosed with cystic fibrosis, was the first time in my life where I experienced a sense of, I can't do this on my own. I had experienced a number of things. We've all gone through breakups and raising kids and experiencing loss and grief and different scenarios, but nothing could have prepared me for the level of grief and sadness and disappointment and anger and every emotion that Brene Brown lists in Atlas of the Heart was experienced in that moment. And I didn't know, I couldn't see at that moment. And I think a lot of you, or maybe in moments in life, or maybe it's hard to see to the other side of it. And you hear people talking about joy, or you hear people talking about, oh, let's just be happy. And that maybe doesn't feel like where you're at right now. And that's okay. What I've realized for myself is that joy is a lifestyle. It does not mean that I am always feeling happy. It does not mean that everything is going perfectly. It does not even mean that I feel like getting out of bed in the morning sometimes. But it is a way of life in being able to take the circumstances that 99.9% of the time we cannot control. And that is really hard. I love control. I love being in charge and handling things and figuring out all the details and planning it so perfectly that nothing could possibly go wrong. Oh, if I could have just had a conversation with young Kimberly to tell her that she just can let go and it'll all be fine. Lessons in my 40 years of life that I am still learning. But what I did experience in the years post Cassidy's diagnosis is that it is possible to feel joy again, and it doesn't happen by accident. I believe that it is a choice and it is intentional and it needs to be practiced, just like any other habit. Now, for me, the joy of getting organized is what takes life from being over here to raising it up to being over here. I know that everybody has their own sense of what being organized looks like for them and how you want your life to look. And I don't believe that there is a one size fits all when it comes to figuring out how you want your life to look. But I do believe that if you are in a place right now where you are feeling overwhelmed, you are feeling like the ways you are spending your time every day, the ways that the activities that you're a part of, the groups you're a part of, the clients you're working with, the places that you are spending your time in both your personal and professional life, if you are feeling overwhelmed and unaligned, that's where we can do something about it. If you can honestly say that everything is going exactly the way that you want your life to go, oh, that makes me so happy for you. But I think for most of us, this is an ongoing practice. And this is something that you don't just touch once and then never have to do anything about it again in order to get yourself to a place of feeling that joy every day. And it starts, you got your journals out. Number one, it starts with just being aware. Just being aware. And a long time ago, I took a week to note everywhere where I was spending my time. And I still do this every year in December. I look at the year that has just nearly been completed, and I look through my Google Calendar and I note places where I can look back. I literally swipe through all 365 days at a glance, spend about an hour, and I look through it all and I see where I spent the majority of my time. I am one of those people that puts everything into their calendar and my project management tool in order to keep myself organized. But regardless, whether you have a paper calendar, whether you use a digital calendar, whether you just remember things in your head, oh, bless you if you are able to do that. I look through it and I really note where I've spent my time. Are there places that I've said yes to that I should have probably said no? Are there places that I decided not to do something that I wished I had said yes and been a part of it and seen what could have come of it? And so I'm just honest with myself. And it's not in a judgmental place, but it's aware and it's honest. That for me has been the game changing key to being able to be aware, is not being aware to what I think should be the case or what I think should happen, but honestly, the reality of what do I want? What do I need in any given moment, minute, day, month, year? I need to be in tune with myself in order for me to even be able to express to the people around me, my family, my clients, my friends, what do I need? If I don't know, it's either setting me up to be really disappointed most of the time, or never really getting to experience joy because you're just sort of coasting along and you're just okay with it. And everybody has their own personality and ways that they go about this. So, number one, be aware. So, I challenge you to really look through your schedule and figure out what right now, even starting this fall, you don't need to look back for the whole year. You can just start right now. September is always an interesting season, at least for me. Getting the kids back into activities, figuring out what schedules look like. Who do I want to reconnect with after the summer? Where am I spending my time? What work projects am I working on? And looking at your whole, we all get 24 hours in a day. Whether a celebrity has millions of followers and they're running a huge empire, or we're over here running our kids around, having our small businesses, it makes no difference who you are or what's going on. Time is the one thing that we all have in common. And that is the next step of this. So we're being aware, and the next step is recognizing our time. And again, looking at the calendar, I take a lot of the things that I've done in my event planning days, which still happen today, but I'm not taking on nearly the events that I used to years ago. But I'm always in the process with myself and with my clients in working backwards. So I really like the concept of looking at everything as a whole and deciding what the absolute needs and necessities that have to be within any given 24-hour block. For me, I like to start with sleep because I am aware about that for myself, that sleep is something that is a non-negotiable for me. Everything else goes downhill if the sleep is not there. So for me, that is essential. And I used to think about my sleep in a sense of like what time I woke up and that sort of thing. And now I've realized that in order for sleep to be the big priority, it's my nighttime routine that really needs to be on track in order to set myself up for success in the morning. It's all fine I've talked about this before. I vowed to myself I would never be a part of the 5 a.m. club. And I'm still not, but I'm a part of the 6 a.m. club. And that was also not my normal. I very much was always getting up like in just enough time to get ready for the day and get the kids organized when they were little, and just never really thought about getting up earlier because I like to sleep, but I wasn't going to bed in time enough to be able to get up earlier in the morning. So as soon as I was able to flip that, and it's been habits that I started just before throughout the pandemic, where I was like, you know what? Let's fix this. Let's get this organized. I do feel like I'm a morning person naturally. I wake up and I'm happy to start the day, but not when I don't have enough sleep. So I was able to figure that out. So sleep for me, looking in a 24-hour block of time, sleep for me needs to equal 8 to 10 hours. That's what I need. That's what I like. And it makes me feel like a completely different human to get that level of sleep. So I set my calendar up for that to be successful so that I can get up at 6 a.m. and go for a walk and do what I need to do and not feel exhausted throughout the whole day. But it involves me going to bed earlier and really deciding when I am wanting to go out in an evening later than I normally would, what I want my next day to look like. And you have to make sacrifices one way, and it just depends on what's important. And so for me, that was important. So that's how I worked backwards on that one, was sleep. And then secondly, because I'm a business owner, and I know a lot of you listening are business owners, but regardless of whether you own your own business or you are working outside the home in a company and you're working somewhere, or if you are at home raising your kiddos, these all apply the exact same way. It's figuring out what works for you. And I think a lot of times people get hung up on the idea that, oh, well, I work at this company and this is just what's expected. And of course, we can't all make our own rules all of the time. We need to figure out what works. But I think a lot of people are open to flexibility, at least an honest conversation, if there's something that would be able to make you happier, more productive, able to do other things within the business if it meant maybe your schedule looked a little different. And so for me, being owning my own business, I do have the flexibility, but it doesn't just change because I run my own business. I think often business owners struggle even more to create their schedule because there sort of often seems like there's not parameters around when we're working. It's just 24/7, whenever someone calls, whenever someone needs something, that's just what I have to be available. And I did do that for many, many, many years. Probably shaved a few years off my life doing it. And it got to the point where for me, my lightning bolt moment of Cassidy getting diagnosed and everything needing to completely shift in my life was an absolute catalyst for this to just change. And it didn't happen overnight. It took me a long time to get to a place of really understanding how I wanted my schedule to look. But I spent most of the summer, this summer, only working mornings. I did not have any less work to do. I had a lot of work that I was keeping up with, but I removed other busy jobs that just didn't need to happen. I removed myself from social media for most of the summer, posted very rarely. I stopped sending out my email newsletters. I am hiring an assistant. I am doing all of the things to get my schedule back. And I want that for you too. So number 2 is just really time blocking your time to look as to what you have available in a day and where do you want to spend that time. If you are spending 8 hours at work, that's fine. If you are spending 15 hours at work, that's fine. If you're spending 2 hours at work, that's fine. There is no right or wrong answer in this. It just needs to work within 24 because we can't change how many hours there are in a day. So you need to just work backwards from there. And once you know what you are wanting your days to look like, you're able to shift your mindset from I have to do these things to I'm choosing to spend my time this way. And for me, at least, it's really given me an empowerment to decide, is this important? And instead of quickly answering, I pause. And if somebody's asking me to do something, I think about it. Is this going to work for me and in my schedule? It's not an emergency, doesn't have to be done. Do I want to? And I listen to myself. And that comes back to the awareness piece that we just talked about. You listen to decide what feels right. If you are having uncomfortable feelings about saying yes or no to something, don't just dismiss those feelings. Listen to them. What are they trying to tell you? Are you uncomfortable because you're actually really wanting to do this and it's actually feelings of excitement and nervousness? Or is it, heart palpitating, nervous? I don't know how to say no to this person because they asked me to do something and I really want to say no, but I don't want to let them down. You have to think about that. And as a recovering people pleaser over here, I'm here for all the questions. I am learning how to be honest to myself and how to be honest to the people around me and looking at that as a virtue rather than something that I thought made me kind of just be able to help people like me, or feeling like I had to do everything in order to show that I was capable. And it's just not necessary. And the more we are able to be aware of what sits right in us, the more we are able to look at our schedules and really create what we're wanting to do. The life of our dreams doesn't just happen. We don't just magically get to whatever age and suddenly the life of our dreams is there. It takes daily steps every single day in order for us to get to the place where we are daily living the life of our dreams, not thinking of it as an end goal. And thirdly, the piece of the puzzle in finding joy in getting organized is really brainstorming what your ideal life looks like. There may be things in your life right now that you're dreaming about doing someday, or you wish you could go do that again, but there's just never time. And what if I did this hobby? Or what if I wasn't always in the car driving my kids around for endless hours a week? Or there are no right or wrong answers. Some women love being at the dance studio, being at the hockey rink, driving around. That brings them joy. It has nothing to do with what the activity is. It is all about what makes you happy and what really brings you joy. And you have to be honest with yourself about what that is in order to be able to recognize in a moment that you are actually living the life that you want right now. And so I challenge you to really think about what your dream life looks like. And I did this exercise a while ago. I can't even remember. I think it might have been Tony Robbins that was talking about how when you just give yourself 5 minutes. So with the journal, if you're sitting with the journal right now, give yourself 5 minutes, play some music if you want, let it be quiet if you want, but just in 5 minutes, see how fast you can write down everything that goes through your mind. Set a timer. So 5 minutes is up, you can be done, but just continue writing. Don't let there be any reasons why you're writing down what your dream life looks like. Think about what you want to feel. Think about where you would like to go, how you would like to live, what your perfect morning would look like, what your afternoons and your evenings would look like. Who are you spending time with? What virtues and values are important to you? What experiences have you always wanted to try that you just, for whatever reason, time, money, energy, the season of life you're in, just hasn't happened? Think that through and figure out what this looks like for you so that you actually know how to make the changes on a day-to-day basis in order to get you to the life that you're saying you want. Most of us, if we're feeling frustrated or upset in a moment for needing to do something that we maybe didn't want to do, it's because it's just out of alignment. And that doesn't mean that everything we do in life is going to feel wonderful and great and we never have to do anything that we don't love. I would rather never have to take out the garbage or do that, but that's just a part of life. But I don't feel resentful that I have to do it either. So it's getting ourselves to a place of just figuring out how we wish to be spending our time and what are we actually striving for. And once we start getting clear on that for ourselves, all of these other pieces start falling into place, because then that is where we have the ability to actually set goals, set time aside for experiences, make it happen, say it out loud so that we're actually being accountable to the people around us who care about us. And we can share these dreams with them so that we can experience more joy in life. And to me, that is what getting organized is all about. There are obviously very, very practical ways in all areas of our life, whether it's mental cleanup and clarity, whether it's our physical space in our houses. Maybe our garage is stacked to the roof and it just makes us stressed every time we walk in there. Maybe the pantry is just full of things that probably need to get purged, but we just haven't taken the time to do it. Of course, that is all a big part of organization. And that is all a part of this whole process. It's about what you want your life to look like, from the little teeny tiny pantry to being able to travel the world, to being able to make grand donations to organizations that are near and dear to your heart. All of these things are fit into this scope. And my hope for you is that in this season, you will also be a part of this movement in the joy of getting organized.